this trick, I would allow the spectator to go ahead and just shuffle the deck as much as they would like to make sure it's a really thorough shuffle. And basically what's going to happen is I'm going to allow the spectator to cut roughly half the deck for themselves, just like this. So they have this half over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these cards, spread them face up on the table, and I would allow the spectator to just think of any one of these face-up cards right here in front of them. So me being the magician, I would have no idea what card they're thinking of because it's only in the spectator's mind. They wouldn't say it out loud or anything like that. So let's say the spectator, in this case, is thinking of the Ace of Clubs just because it's a cool card. So for this next part, I would actually be turned around. I would not be able to be seeing what's happening here, only talking to the spectator. And the spectator would be handling the cards themselves. So I would instruct the spectator to pick up their pile with the face-up cards with their thought of card. I would instruct them to spread through the cards and just remove their thought of card. Just like this, I would ask them to turn it over so it's face down now, so it's facing the opposite direction from all these other cards. And I would ask them to simply just place that card face down in the middle of their face-up pile. And now I would turn back around and the cards would be in this state. So I would just spread through just like this and say, alright, so here are all the cards. Once again, I have no idea what card you're thinking of. But at this point, I do know where it is because it's very clearly visible. It is the only face-down card within the face-up cards. But that's good because we're going to need to find it later, and this is just a nice, easy way to locate it in the future. So basically what's going to be happening is I'm actually going to be allowing the spectator to hold on to this pile themselves. So I would go ahead, just ask them to hold on to that pile and place their other hand on top of it. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to try something impossible. I'm going to try and actually make their selection basically escape from their hands, from between their hands, and basically appear in my hands, alright? So we're going to try this right now. It might be a little bit difficult, but we'll see how we can do, right? I'm not going to actually touch it because I don't want to do any funny moves here, but ready? I'm just going to take their thought of card and just kind of drop it right over here. And there it is. You see? Now I'm going to ask them to lift up their hands and just spread through the pile. And look, there is no more cards that are facing the opposite direction. I would ask them to spread through face up as well, just so that they can confirm that their card, the Ace of Clubs, no longer in this pile. I would ask them to go ahead and just name their card out loud for everyone around us. They would say the Ace of Clubs. I would say, interesting, because look, in my hands, I have one card, the Ace of Clubs, just like this. So anyways, guys, that is the trick. It's a really, really cool trick. And now for the tutorial. Alright guys, so this trick is actually really, really fun to do. It's a really fun trick to kind of like practice your angles because I will admit this trick is a little bit more difficult to pull off when you are surrounded, but it is much easier when you are doing this just for like one or two people right in front of you. I have done it before when I was surrounded and I pulled it off pretty well. I think I fooled them. So anyways guys, this is the tutorial for the trick. I would consider it sort of like an intermediate / advanced trick. So if you guys are beginners, this might not be the perfect trick for you, but you guys should still watch it because it is worth practicing and worth getting down because it really is a really, really fun and cool trick. So anyways guys, it's completely impromptu. All you need is a shuffled deck of cards. It can be a borrowed deck, doesn't even matter. So anyways, once you have a deck ready to follow along, let's start learning this trick. So basically you are going to start by having the spectator shuffle the deck. That's a very, very important thing to do. Because you want the spectator to always believe that the deck is mixed up. I mean, unless you're doing a card trick that has like a big setup, you can shuffle the deck yourself. But it is very important when you are doing an impromptu trick to let the spectator have some control over the cards so that they feel that it really is like a legit card trick happening. So basically once the deck has been thoroughly shuffled here, what's going to happen is you're going to have the spectator cut roughly half the cards for themselves and to just set it on the table. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the other half of the deck and you're actually just going to set it right here, just right in front of you, facing the spectator, just perfectly centered right in front of your body. So what's going to happen is you're going to flip over the pile and you're going to spread it out just like this so that the spectator can see all the faces, and you're going to invite the spectator to think of any one of these cards. Now this part is all presentation. It's very important for this trick especially to call their selection their thought of card, just because later when they're thinking about the trick or like telling their friends and family that they saw a magician do this trick, they're going to tell them that oh, he took my thought of card and just made it appear in his own hands. And that will just make the trick sound a lot better, and it will leave a better memory in the spectator's mind. When you're doing this trick, you want to always refer to their card as their thought of card. You never want to refer to it as like their selection or the card that they picked, even though that's what they're doing in this case. Now, this doesn't apply for every single trick, obviously. Just for this trick especially, their thought of card. Here we have all these cards. You're going to invite them to think of any card. So let's say they're thinking of the Queen of Diamonds, just because it's a nice card. So once again, the magician has no idea what card they're thinking of, but let's say they're thinking of that Queen of Diamonds. So now you're going to just square up the pile and hand over the cards to the spectator. So now what you're going to do is you're actually going to turn around. So you're not going to be able to see what's happening here, but this is what you're going to be instructing the spectator to do. So you're going to tell them to just go through the pile and to remove their thought of card. So just remove the card that they want to think of. So here was the Queen of Diamonds. You're going to invite them to turn it over just like this. So it's facing the opposite direction, and you're just going to ask them to place it anywhere back in that same pile, but just now it's facing the opposite direction. And now they can just place the pile back on the table. And now you can turn back around because now that part is done. You just turned around because you didn't want to see what card that they're thinking of. So it just makes it a little bit more fair, I guess. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to spread the cards once more on the table, just showing this state. And you're going to say, so once again, I have no idea what card you're thinking of. The only thing I can see now is where it is, because clearly it is the only face down card in the pile. And you're going to do exactly what I just did. So you're going to spread out the cards, pick them up, and then you're going to spread through the cards and just kind of out jog that face down card. So what you're going to do now is sort of like variation off like a side steal, but honestly you guys could do whatever type of way that you want to basically control this card so that it becomes out of the pile, and basically you're going to be stealing it out in a palm. And that's basically what this entire trick is all about. This part right here is the main part of the entire trick. So there's many ways to accomplish this. There's the one way that I did in the performance, which is a little bit easier than most ways. So what I did in the performance was I actually pushed the card in on its left corner just like this, so it kind of goes in at an angle just like this. So you can see that. That's kind of like the exposed view. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your right hand and just kind of place it on the right edge of the deck here. And you're going to use your index finger here to kind of just lever that card. Then you're going to use your middle finger here to kind of pull that card all the way out to the side. So here's the exposed view. Now it's just sticking out the right edge of the deck. And your hand here is covering it just like this. So the spectator just sees this. Like, it's completely invisible. You can't really tell that the card is sticking out from the side like this because your hand is covering it completely. So what you're going to do now is just kind of use your fingers here. Like, you're holding the deck in mechanics grip, but you're going to use your fingers here to kind of just slowly push that card over, and you're going to kind of rotate it down this way, and you can kind of pivot it over the thumb here that is holding the deck. You can kind of pivot it around that thumb. You see it's going around the thumb, right? So you're going to pivot it down around that thumb, and it's going to kind of end in this position here, because this is what your hand is going to be looking like in just a moment. You're going to be doing sort of like a longitudinal palm. That's what I did in the performance. So basically, sorry, I'll go through that all one more time so you guys can get it. So the card is in this position right here. You out jog it, and then you square up the pile. You're going to push the card in on the left edge here so it kind of sticks out. Then you're going to place your thumb here on the center, and then use your fingers here to kind of just lever that card out to the side. Obviously, don't let it fall out like it just did. You're just gonna lever it to the side like this, so it kind of just comes out a little bit, just like that. You can kind of use your pinky too. Then you're gonna use your fingers here to kind of just slowly push that card out, and then also make sure your fingers are covering. You never want your fingers to be here, because then obviously that card will be exposed. So make sure your fingers are always covering that card. And then at this point, you're actually gonna move that card along the thumb. Just pivot it along the thumb, just like this, so it kind of goes out a little bit more diagonally. And you're going to line up the top edge of the card here. That's going to go right sort of in your between your pinky and your middle finger, just like this. And that is kind of the state that you want to be in right now, just like this. And now you're going to kind of angle your hands just a little bit, so like this is the center. It's kind of like lined up with the half on the table. You're going to kind of turn it so that the card sticking out, it's this way. Now you're going to turn your hand so that it's facing the center of the table. So now that card is facing the same direction as that pile on the table. And you're going to ask the spectator over here, Make sure the spectator is always to your left over here when you're doing this part, because that is the best way to cover this part of the trick. So you're going to ask them to hold out their hand, and just when they hold out their hand, that is the perfect opportunity, because they're going to be like looking at their hand. That is going to be what their focus is on. At this point, you're going to basically take the entire deck out with your left hand. So once you've taken the deck here with your left hand, immediately with your right hand, you're going to drop the hand with the palmed card down to the table, and you're going to contact that pile on table. You don't have to get it like perfect, exactly squared up in the middle. It can be a little bit off. It doesn't really matter, because this part is using some misdirection. So once again, you're going to take the pile out with your left hand to give to the spectator. As you do that, immediately drop your right hand down and pick up the pile from the table. Just kind of scoop your hand along the table to pick it up, just like this. So that part should all be done using some misdirection, and it should be very, very quick as well. It should just be like, here, can you just hold out your hand for me? And then boom, everything is just done right there in that like 1.5 seconds right there. It's really, really quick. So once that part is done, you've now basically taken their thought of card, the Queen of Diamonds, and placed it on top of the deck, just like this. So at this point, they think they're holding their pile with their card facing the opposite direction in the center. So they think all of that is in their hands, but in reality, they're just holding a normal pile, and their card is already in your hands. So all you have to do at this point is you can just do some false shuffles. This part is optional. You don't have to do this, but you can do a false shuffle where you just kind of leave that card on top. If you want, you can do some false cuts as well, but it's not really necessary. It doesn't really matter. Basically, just keep that card on top at all times. And what you're going to do now is you're going to pretend to take their card out and then make it appear in your hands. So all this is, it's very, very simple. As you sort of reach over to like grab the essence of their card, like in a magical way, you're going to turn your left wrist down just like this, so that like the side with your thumb is facing up towards the sky, just like this. And you do that as you reach over to grab like the essence of their card. And as you do this, they're looking at this right now. They're not looking at this. What you're going to do with this hand is you're going to push off that top card, and you're going to catch a little pinky break. You're in this position, so you do that as you turn your hand down, and then you grab the essence, and now make sure your thumb is firmly contacted on like the left corner of the cards, because what you're going to do now is you're going to grab the essence of the cards, and you're going to kind of drop it. And as you drop it, you can either drop or snap, it doesn't really matter. But as you do that, you're going to basically take your thumb here and just move it to the left, just like this, and that will just take that top card and move it up just like this. And if you do that, if you apply some pressure, it should just sort of pop up just like this. And if your hand is down, it really does kind of look like the card just kind of appears out of nowhere. And it really, really is a cool revelation, just like this. So you go like this, boom, just like that, card appears. Now you can just take the hand and just make sure you place the pile face up just like this. So now the cards kind of just come together. And now you ask the spectator to lift up their hand and examine the pile in their hand, and they see that their card is no longer there. Even though they were holding it there the entire time, it has escaped from their hands, and it has now reappeared in your hands, just like this. So now they're going to go home. They're going to tell their friends and family, oh my god, this magician, he took my thought of card. I just thought of it, and I turned it over, put it in my pile, and then he was holding his pile. And then he somehow took out my card and then put it in his pile, but he didn't even touch the deck at all, and it was just absolutely impossible. So that's what the spectator is going to remember after you do this trick. So anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoy this trick. It's super, super fun, awesome trick to practice. If you guys are bored, just do this trick. And yeah, so anyways, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you guys for my next one. Bye.